I'm Holly.
And I'm Bridget.
And this
is Girls Next Level.
Welcome back to Girls Next Level podcast, everybody. We are back to talk about Half-Baked Alaska Season 4, Episode 3. And this is my favorite episode of all time. And I wanted to ask you, and you're probably going to say no, because I know you don't like to pick favorites and you haven't watched the whole thing for so long, but do you have anything or any contenders that like pop into your head as like, this could be my favorite out of all the episodes?
Oh God, that's tough. That's tough. I would have to think about that for longer. But I mean, I think that the episodes that were about us individually are like so special to us because we barely got that. Mm-hmm. And to like have your own identity and have your own like story told and stuff.
Totally.
So I can totally see why this would be one of your favorites. And Marie Antoinette birthday party,
that's my runner-up, I think.
Yeah. And for me, like the first things that come to mind are like my murder mystery birthday party and the ghost episode and stuff, or like
Cake Pop.
Well, I mean, that scene anyway is one of my favorite things. And then like the 4th of July episode and stuff is really meaningful to me. So or Patriot Dames, I should call it its name. But yeah, I haven't seen the rest of them yet, so it's hard to say. But I think when they really focus on like an individual and stuff, that we were craving that so bad.
100%. You know, we'd been living in this place where we were kind of like clones for however many years. And so when we got like our own episodes, because this was season 4 and I finally get to do a hometown episode, which we did for you and Kendra like in seasons 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So it was really exciting. And I just love how it turned out too. I love how there wasn't any interpersonal drama. The drama was more situational, like with the plane breaking down and things like that.
Yeah.
So that is so up my alley. You know what I mean?
Not only is there no like interpersonal drama, like we were all genuinely getting along so well.
And everybody was excited to do this trip. Like I didn't think for a second, like even though Kendra doesn't like getting on planes, she was a good sport about getting on that little plane. And I didn't feel for one second like I was dragging anybody to do anything they didn't want to do.
Yeah.
We were just all so excited to travel together. I feel like that was the thing that the three of us had that was a common ground, was we all love to travel. We all love to explore. We all love to like get out there and like see all the things.
Mm-hmm. And I really, really feel the connection in this episode. And I really remember feeling the connection when we were there too.
Yeah.
And I can feel it in the episode. And I'm curious if the listeners or the viewers saw that as well.
Me too. So this episode first aired on my birthday, December 23rd, 2007.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that weird?
That's really cool though.
Yeah. And I remember that year my birthday dinner was Moulin Rouge themed.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. So I think we showed, well, it wouldn't have been Sunday. We would have showed the old movie like the day before.
Probably Saturday night,
Moulin Rouge, yeah. So the number one song at that time was Still No One by Alicia Keys. The number one country song was Our Song by Taylor Swift. And the number one movie was National Treasure, Book of Secrets. So I finally get my hometown visit, which I had suggested probably like a season earlier. And I remember coming across like a set of notes Hef had written like back to Kevin, because Kevin would have these meetings with us. We'd submit our ideas. Kevin would write them up, submit them to Hef, and Hef would write his responses. And his response to the Alaska one was, I've traveled the world in my lifetime and never once have I ever remotely wanted to go to Alaska.
Yeah.
So that was his big thumbs down to the episode. And my immediate thought was, nobody fucking invited you.
Yeah.
Like never in my mind did I think he would go on that trip.
Yeah.
Like there's no way. It's just way too like non-luxurious.
Right.
For like,
and there's not a real way to make that trip luxurious.
Yeah, like no. Like you just can't do it. And people always ask me why I didn't pick Oregon. Because
I was going to ask you too.
Do you think it's not obvious though?
No, I think I know the reasons why, but I feel like that's definitely
clearly other
a question.
people don't.
Yeah. So I was going to ask for the sake of the listener.
Yeah. I remember one time I was going back home. I think it was a time I went back home with Sarah. I stopped at like a random Starbucks in Portland and some dude came up to me kind of confrontational style because like the show was still on at this time and was like, why didn't you go back to Oregon instead of Alaska for like your hometown visit? And I was like,
geez.
Dang, is it really that offensive? But I feel like Well, I mean, for me, it was more meaningful to go back because I spent like my childhood there, like before 10 years old. And so I feel like that shaped me a lot more. Like by the time I moved to Oregon, I just felt so fish out of water. Like I never attached to Oregon. I never felt any kind of warm, fuzzy feelings about it ever. I just always felt like fish out of water. Like I don't belong here. I need to go somewhere else. And also, but the main reason is I feel like it's such an interesting episode.
Yeah.
Like, not that we couldn't make a cute Oregon episode, but okay, whatever. Wouldn't you rather go to like someplace that's the complete opposite of California, complete opposite of like luxury, like how we were living, quote unquote? It's just, I felt like it was the perfect fish out of water space for us to go.
Oh, I felt like it was a cool choice because, especially for the show, like you said, it's such a dichotomy, like being in Alaska, being in the woods, like looking for bears and like just kind of, I mean, we're not roughing it by any means, but like compared to like our lifestyle in LA.
Yeah.
Like such a difference. So I'm glad you chose Alaska. I did want to do Oregon as well, but I wanted to do Oregon as kind of like a joint thing where we kind of go back together.
We did have an Oregon idea that we kept pitching and wanted to do, you know, as like a, you know, if the show would have kept going on. But we wanted to do, because before we moved to Alaska, when I was like 2 or 3, I was born in Astoria. So we wanted to go there and do like a Goonies tour.
Yes.
And they just have some like cool, creepy stuff in Astoria. We wanted to go to Tillamook, where you were born. Yes. We wanted to do like a whole like Oregon tour, but it didn't happen. So it wasn't like we were anti-doing it. I just thought if you want my real like hometown visit, like to show you who I am and where I come from, like we have to go to Alaska.
Yeah.
Like there's no way.
Well, back to the whole Oregon thing too. Like we have so many episode ideas that we wanted to do. Like we could have easily done another season just with like all the ideas that we had.
Oh, very easily. Yeah. I do think one of the challenging things, though, would a lot, not for us, but for the other powers that be, is a lot of the stuff we want to do was travel. Not all of it. There was a lot of like creative work stuff I wanted to do. Like I thought it would be fun to do an episode where I went and like interned for like a major photographer and just like fucking learned something new and did something that was totally outside, like a David LaChapelle or something.
Yeah.
Don't know if he wanted to do it, but I thought that was a good idea. What do you remember some of your other ideas? I know you wanted to go to Transylvania.
Oh, I definitely want. And that comes up in a future episode, and we almost do that in a future episode, and then it doesn't happen. But yeah, I definitely wanted that. I mean, we talked about a lot of them in like the commentary too. Like I wanted to do my dad is a big motorcycle rider, Harley rider.
Yeah, we wanted to do a motorcycle episode.
Yeah, I wanted
like Sturgis or something.
Yeah, I wanted to learn how to ride a motorcycle and get my motorcycle license. I wanted you guys to do it with me. And then I thought it'd be fun to do like a photo shoot with Harley.
Oh yeah.
And then going to a big party in Sturgis, because Playboy had a presence in Sturgis for the
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, they would send Playmates every year. So I thought we should go and be a part of it and stuff. That never happened. But yeah, I feel like there were like so many ideas that we had. I mean, obviously the roller skating party on the tennis court.
What a dumb one that we never got to be able to do. I say a dumb one like because it should have been so easy.
Yeah. But then to give it to people who like then turn around and shit on that idea after the fact.
And just didn't do a good job.
Yeah.
Like, we would have done it up. Like, it would have been like a fun, campy, like 70s style.
Oh, you're not even allowed to come if you're not dressed appropriate.
Yeah. So the show opens with us packing. And I say, since Bridget and Kendra shared their hometowns with me, I really want to take them to mine. And you're at your desk looking up the temperature. You say it's going to be a high of 49. And like, I know that's cold now, but even in Oregon, like not even going back to Alaska days, but even in Oregon, I remember in high school, like if I would look at the temperature, if I saw it was going to be 60 degrees out, I thought, oh my God, that's so warm. I can wear a baby tee today.
That's funny because Nick was working just for like a temporary amount of time in Montana. Wait, no. Yeah, No, Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, Montana, I had to fly into Montana and he was working in Wyoming. And I was like, oh God, the high is only like 60 something. So I had brought like my thermals and my like boots and beanies and things like that. And I get there and people are like walking around in shorts and t-shirts and stuff. And Nick's like, well, the sun's out and it's 60. So they're like,
yeah, up north you think that's warm, but now I'm like 60. Buckle up.
I know. Like, where's my thermals?
I know. And people are always like, oh, you grew up in Alaska. You should be used to that. Your body forgets in 2 days. Your body forgets.
They show the cutest shot of Gizmo. And I forgot she used to do this. For a little while, I had a box and it was behind my computer screen. And she used to go in there and sleep and curl up like, so she was so hiding because here's my computer screen. And then the box is behind it in my, desk area.
That's cute vibes because I feel like she's kind of working with you.
Yeah.
Aww.
It's really cute. But it's like her head's poking out. It's just the cutest shot.
So we went to visit Alaska in May, which meant there was only about 4 hours of darkness.
And that is so crazy.
It really is crazy. And it was crazy when we were there. But you know what? As a kid, I never noticed because my bedtime was my bedtime.
Yeah.
Curtains drawn, lights out.
That's what I was going to say. You must have to just have like the room darkening curtains all the time.
Yeah. Like I remember clearly as a kid, like going to bed a lot of the time when it was still light out and not thinking anything of it. People always ask me, oh, that's crazy. Because like and it's, the opposite the other time of year. And I just didn't even think about it. I wasn't even allowed to stay up to watch the Northern Lights, which is kind of sad.
It is sad. Well, we do talk about it at some point here. We're like, oh yeah, it's crazy how we were walking around at like midnight and it was still light out.
Yeah.
Or 11 o'clock or something was still light out, which is kind of cool in a way, but also very weird.
Yeah.
It really tricks your body, for me anyway, while we were there those few days, it really tricks your body into not feeling tired and that it's not late when it is.
Totally. So I'm packing my puffin pajamas, which were perfect for the trip.
And I spy your Marie Antoinette Barbie sitting there.
Yeah, she's so pretty. And this is the first time when I'm talking about Alaska, they're showing childhood pictures of me on the show. And it was never because I wouldn't supply them. I always gave them the pictures when they asked, but I always kind of felt like Kevin didn't want to show childhood pictures of me because you and Kendra look exactly the same as kids, like just shrunk down. But I look like I don't look like myself at all. And that's not a plastic surgery thing. So the only thing I had done to my face was my nose. And you can't tell because when I'm a little kid, I have a little tiny nose. You know what I mean? So it's not that. It's just hair color. And I just look like a completely different person. So I always kind of felt like he didn't want to show my pictures because of that. And then this episode, you kind of have to. I don't know if that's why, but I always felt like, because I feel like from episode 1, they're showing childhood pictures of you and Kendra, and you never saw mine.
Yeah.
Until it just became unavoidable.
Well, I remember even talking about it back in the day, and you commented that it's because you're brunette. And I thought, that's so crazy. But now that you say it, I'm like, maybe there's something to that because why? Why didn't they show them before?
Yeah.
But at the time, I was like, no, that's crazy. Like, why would they not show them just because you're brunette? Like, my hair color changed. Like, I was blonde when I was little, and then it gets darker. And then if it's summertime, it's a little lighter. Like, it changes all over the place.
It reminds me of like this old school television thinking. I was listening to the podcast that Shannon Doherty used to do with Holly Marie Combs, and they were talking about Charmed. And they were talking about how Aaron Spelling had this thing where like a character's hairstyle couldn't change throughout the whole series because they thought that would be like too confusing to the viewer.
Okay.
And that seems silly. Like, no, we're smarter than that. But I mean, they knew what they were doing. So it must have been a thing.
Yeah.
Or like I was talking to Kevin once because his favorite Disney movie was Sleeping Beauty because it was the first color film he ever saw in the theater. And I was talking to him about how in Sleeping Beauty, Aurora's mom looks like she's the same age as Aurora. And he said, yeah, they did that because it was something like the audience, because they show her at the beginning when Aurora's born, and then they show her like 16 years later, and they can't age her because like the audience would be confused or something. It was some like weird tidbit he had on that.
Huh.
So there's something about like making things look continuous. Yeah. And I know you're probably listening to this and thinking you're thinking way too deep into it, and that's dumb. And of course, audiences today are a lot smarter. And it's not like audiences back then weren't smart enough to think like, oh, you can look different as a kid. But I don't know, just like the simplicity of how people like to program things. I just feel like, and I'm sure it wasn't even something Kevin or anybody thought too much about. It was probably just like a split instinct, like, oh, we don't want to show those. Like, that doesn't even make sense. Doesn't even look like her. What's the point? You know?
I'm curious about one of the photos because one of them is with a cute puppy and you say,
oh God, yeah.
Oh, what? Because you say I can't tell the story about what happened.
Yeah, well, it's crazy that they wouldn't let me tell the story. So what happened is, this is a really sad story. So when I was really little in Alaska, I was maybe like 4 or 5 or something. We had a dog who had puppies and my parents couldn't like afford to keep the puppies. So we gave like all the puppies away and they were all black, except there was one blonde puppy. And I really attached that puppy and I named her Nellie after Nellie Olson in the Little House on the Prairie books. And I loved this dog, but they gave it away to one of our neighbors and the neighbors ended up shooting the dog. And I don't know why. And I reached out to my mom. I'm like, do you know why they shot the dog? Like, did the dog bite somebody? Was it an accident? Because everybody's slinging guns around up there like crazy. Was it an accident? Like, were they just assholes? Like, what was the deal? And she goes, no, I don't know. And I just remember, like, it's just one of those like formative things as a kid. Like, you have to, first of all, have to give away this dog that you love, which that sucks. Like, I couldn't keep that one dog. And then the neighbors shoot the dog. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. How did you even find out they did that? Because it was just gone one day?
Well, it's just, there's like 5 people living in our little area. You know, you just know what's going on with your neighbors.
I guess knows everybody's business.
Yeah, I guess we didn't know enough to know why they shot the dog or what the situation was, but that's like kind of like a sucky early life lesson, you know? But for some reason, like, you know, when we would do commentary, Legal would be sitting right outside the sound booth and they didn't want me telling that story. But fuck you shot my dog. I don't give a fuck. Try coming after me.
Well, it's not like
I'll come right back after you.
It's not like you're like
naming them.
Yeah, naming them and giving their address and phone number and be like, this person murdered a dog.
Yeah.
You're just telling the story. And from like a long time ago. So
yeah, and we lived like pretty much off the grid at that time. So good luck finding these people.
Right. Tell me a little bit, or the listeners, I should say, about like your family and what your dad did and why you moved from Oregon to Alaska and back to Oregon and stuff.
Oh, well, he was in the timber industry and he was a port manager and he got a promotion, which took my family up to Alaska. And it was so isolated. Like before we even lived in Craig, which is the tiny town you see on this show, we lived in areas that were basically just like a bunch of mobile homes. At first didn't even have plumbing. Like I was really attached to the Little House on the Prairie books because that was relatable to me. I didn't feel like I was living in the 1980s. I felt like I was living in the 1880s. We had to go get water from the creek. Whoa. We had to hunt our own food. We would get groceries, but we had to order it like a month ahead of time and it would come on a ship and you drive down to the port and you grab all your groceries and go. Like we had to drink like powdered milk. Like you couldn't have dairy. It would spoil.
Yeah.
So it was wild.
That is rustic. That is very rustic.
I'm trying to remember the names of the places we lived before Craig. We lived in a place called View Cove. And that was the place that like they were just putting plumbing in, like when we moved there. I think View Cove was the first spot and we would have to drive somewhere else to meet like the grocery ship that was called the Island Trader. It was crazy.
I mean, I've never lived like that, but I have seen like one of those Alaska reality show things.
Oh yeah, you see Prince of Wales Island and you see that island a lot on those off-the-grid Alaska shows. Like Zach and I used to watch those all the time and I was like, that's where I'm from.
Yeah, but it was interesting. Like they would have to get on like their snowmobile and like go way down to like the tracks and then a train comes by like I forget how often it is now, like once a week or once a month or something like that. And it'll stop at certain spots and give people like lumber or their groceries or like, you know, whatever they ordered and needed and stuff, which is like just such a crazy way to live.
Yeah, it is. And you know what it reminds me of is when you first started Ghost Magnet podcast, you interviewed this lady who lived in Alaska and her stories were so crazy because she lives like out in the middle of nowhere. And she was talking about how one day, I'm probably getting the story wrong, she like fell down and broke her hip. So she had to like crawl on her arms and lasso her husky and like Iditarod her way into town or something.
I know.
But that is an Alaska woman.
Yeah.
Alaskan women, and I'm not even putting myself in this category because I'm not that badass, are on another level.
She got mauled by a bear.
Yeah.
She was down by the creek like fishing or something and she turned around, there's a bear there and it mauled her. And somehow she lived through it.
Yeah.
But she also had a really cool ghost story about like these that she could walk or hike or Iditarod or whatever over to these like old like pioneer days mining cabins. And she was telling me how they're haunted and that there was this couple back in the day and there's like her locket is still hanging in there and stuff. Something happened to them. I forget what, but I was like, oh, I want to do a show about this so bad. I want to go there.
Did I tell you I went to the Red Onion Saloon?
Yes.
So I went on an Alaska cruise a couple years ago and they stopped in Skagway, where one of the most haunted places in Alaska is the Red Onion Saloon. And I went on a, I don't know what they called it, like a sex worker themed tour where this lady who's dressed up as like an old fashioned like sex worker was taking us around and telling us about all the brothels and everything and like all the stories. And there was one in Red Onion Saloon and that was kind of where the tour stopped and started. And it was so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that place is really cool. What did your mom do? Was she stay-at-home mom? Or?
Yeah. And I think living there was really hard on her because we were isolated as fuck.
Yeah.
And we just had like an old Atari and she would just like play video games all day.
At least there's that.
I know, but I don't know how she got through it. Because first of all, like you're living in a place where you're going through like light deprivation. There's no other people around hardly at all.
Yeah.
And I remember when we first moved to View Cove, there would be like, it was so old fashioned. It was like thinking of, I feel like I'm talking about like an 1800s mining town. So there would be this like bunkhouse you would go to get meals. And like the lady who was in charge of the bunkhouse, like her and my mom like didn't get along or like she didn't like my mom or something. It was just like wild.
Like the one other person that you could talk to or hang out with. They don't like each other.
It was so crazy. One of my childhood photos, it shows me holding a Barbie horse called Prancer. And then like years later, Kevin like got on eBay and like bought me that horse in the box again. And he's like, Prancer. It's so cute. And Rainbow ended up with it. So it's somewhere.
I remember Prancer when I was a kid too.
So cute.
So then it shows Kendra. She's talking to her mom. She's already worried about the float plane that we're going to have to go on. Her mom sounds really worried too.
She's like, guess what kind of plane I have to take. But overall, I really feel like she's a good sport about this trip.
Yeah.
Like I know she's playing it up because she like doesn't like flying, but
yeah,
I felt like everybody was good.
Yeah. She says she's excited about going to Alaska because everything's going to be so beautiful, just not the plane.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, we were taking a seaplane, which are those little planes on skis that kind of look almost like a 1920s biplane. And we used to have to take those all the time in Alaska if we were ever going like from one island to the other, if you didn't want to take like the ferry, which is like a 3-hour ride. And so to me, it's like nothing, but I think to anybody else, it's like scary as fuck.
I was not scared, but I did think it was like an exciting new adventure. Like I'd never been on a plane that took off from the water and landed on the water like that. So I thought that was really cool. And obviously when it's something with just like small little propeller planes, there's more like potential for a problem or whatever. But I wasn't worried until I needed to be worried.
The crazy things about these planes is as far as turbulence, you don't know what the fuck you're going to get. And turbulence on those is something else entirely.
Good thing we didn't have much of that.
Yeah. I don't know what would have been scarier, like that kind of turbulence or, oh, hey, your plane's breaking down. We need to make an emergency landing.
Well, yeah, I remember the flight was pretty smooth up until it wasn't. But we'll get to that part.
And then when she's talking about the plane, Kevin cuts to old movie footage of like a biplane up in flames, like going down, which is a bit of foreshadowing.
In commentary, you and Kendra have this interesting side conversation where Kendra says that since she stopped taking all her vitamins, because I guess in that scene where she's talking on the phone, there's like a shit ton of vitamins sitting on her shelf or like nightstand next to her. And she said since she stopped taking all the vitamins, she stopped getting sick.
And I agreed with her. What kind of shit-ass vitamins were we taking? Because I'm a supplement queen now. And if I run out of a certain supplement, I'll notice like symptoms flare up or whatever. So I'm all about the supplements. But we must have been taking some nasty-ass drugstore gross vitamins or something.
Possibly, yeah.
Because definitely didn't buy quality vitamins back in those days. I was at the drugstore getting the chalky like horse pill multivitamin nasties.
Yeah. But it's interesting that she's bringing up, I know it has nothing to do with this episode when she's talking about that in commentary, but there is an issue that's going on in this episode that I totally remember. And I can't remember. Remember when somebody asked us a long time ago, were we ever sick at the mansion or whatever?
I was just going to chime in with that. I don't know if it was because we quit taking vitamins that we stopped getting sick. I think it's because we moved out of the mansion.
But what I was going to say is in this whole episode, I was not sick anymore, but I had this lingering cough that would not go. And every time I tried to talk, it would cause a tickle in my throat. And I'd have to start my whatever I was going to say with like a little cough. And it lasted for months. I thought it was never going to go away. And I remember feeling it so badly in this episode. And sometimes I would play it off as a laugh or a giggle just to get like the cough out and stuff. But I also think that you're a little bit sick in this episode too.
Really? Yeah, I remember at the mansion, you kind of couldn't be sick. Like I never took a day off really.
Yeah.
But I remember always having colds and weird shit like that. And Doc Saganor would always be like, oh, you got to take echinacea and olive leaf extract, like squirt it out into this orange juice. And it was the grossest stuff.
That was disgusting. I did not do that.
Gross.
But I don't remember, we've talked about this before, but I really don't remember. There are a few times that I point them out when I wasn't feeling well or was sick, but I don't remember really being like sick a lot or anything like that at the mansion.
Hef was always on a Z-Pack. And he would insist on a Z-Pack for any cold or anything. And even his doctor would bitch behind his back. Like, he's just going to get a bacteria that's like, he's going to develop like a resistant bacteria or something because he's taking all these antibiotics when he doesn't need it.
Yeah.
So it's morning at the mansion.
Very early.
And we are headed over to Hef's bed, single file, ready to say goodbye to him before we leave. And you can see just the mess of magazines that's at the foot of his bed.
And you can see how dark it is in his room, too.
I mean, that room, like I've said before, I remember the first time I woke up in that room thinking it was the darkest, most cavernous, biggest room I've ever been in.
Yeah.
Like, making your way to the bathroom was an adventure.
In an interview, you're talking about how we're going to be gone for 4 days, and that is the longest you have ever been away from Hef in 5 years.
Yeah, because I think the only time I'd stayed a night away was Vail.
Yeah.
But when I say we're gone for 4 days, 2 of those are travel days.
Yeah.
We're not spending 4 days in Alaska, sadly. Which is crazy when you have to travel and you spend just as much time on the plane as you do feet on the ground.
I know.
I feel like that's kind of a ripoff.
I know. Yeah, so we all say goodnight. This is the second time, if not the third time, that we've like gone in the middle of the, or not middle of the night, but like super, super early in the morning and woken Hef up to say goodbye.
Yeah.
This time, that one time we were talking about it, I really felt like the nerves, like we were going to get in trouble for waking him up. This time I didn't feel that at all.
Yeah, because we've done it before and he's loving the show and, you know, we're just in such a good space with this show that if it needs to be done for the show, he's going to be down for it.
Yeah.
That would sour a little bit in season 5 as he got grumpier.
Does it? I don't remember.
It does, because I remember there was some scene like later on in season 5 where I go upstairs to the 3rd floor to show Hef something and do some kind of scene I need to do real quick. And after the scene was done, he bit my fucking head off. He's like, don't you ever come up here again with the cameras without warning me first.
What was he doing? Jacking it or something?
No, nothing was weird at all. Like his hair wasn't even out of place. It was just, he was just getting so grumpy by then.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it cuts to footage of a plane flying into Alaska and all this scenic stuff like a bald eagle and totem poles and stuff. And I really don't love the music they pick for this. To me, it is just not Alaska. It says like Tennessee or something. And I think they pick this music because it's rural and they're like, oh, we need hillbilly vibes or something. But I feel like it is just not Alaska to me. I feel like you'd need something that's kind of like indigenous music or something to really give like the proper vibe.
I can see that.
So they missed the mark on that one. So as I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, my mom and dad are there. Where are my brother and sister? And I asked my sister why she didn't go. And she said it was because she was a school teacher at the time. And it was the end of the year and they just didn't have any substitutes. So she couldn't go. And then I wasn't really insisting that my brother go because he's like 9 years younger than me. So he was a baby when we were in Alaska. And then by the time he's old enough to remember anything, we were back in Oregon. So I think if my sister couldn't go, it was just like, oh, just my parents then.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it was a bummer that she couldn't go, but what can you do?
And they, of course, show things a little bit out of order. But I know the first thing we did is we went and checked into the hotel and everything, because in commentary we're talking about how, and I also changed clothes, so that's how I know too. But like we're talking about how people were stalking our hotel room and calling the room and knocking on the door and like running off, or knocking on the door and asking if the girls next door were in there.
Yeah, it was really crazy.
They were like lurking in the stairwell.
Yeah, I've never had that experience at a hotel before. Or since.
Yeah. And then we also are talking about all the taxidermied animals.
Everywhere. Even at the airport when you land, there's like a giant elk.
It's crazy.
So we're at the airport.
At the airport. Yeah. Did you see that there's this guy, and I don't know if he's with us, but I don't know why he would be doing this. He's got like a little tiny handheld camera and he's like filming us.
No, I think it's just a guy who noticed there were cameras. So he thinks, oh, that must be somebody. Let's capture it. That's what I thought it was. Yeah.
But it feels weird. It feels like that wasn't really happening back in those days. But then there it is.
Yeah.
And so part of me was like, wait, is he with us? Is that like extra footage?
Oh, no. So you can see when I hug my dad, I'm holding an Alaska tourist pamphlet with a puffin on it because I am taking the opportunity to grab anything with a puffin on it. And because, puffin merch is everywhere in Alaska. And even like I remember always seeing as a kid, no smoking signs. And it would be the big like circle with a slash through it. And there'd be a puffin in the middle with a cigarette and it would say no puffin.
That's so cute. And I remember you telling me about those signs back when we were at the mansion.
Yeah. And it was, I was a kid in the 80s. So there were still smoking sections and non-smoking sections. Yes. So you would just see those signs everywhere. And in Alaska, it was never a regular no smoking sign. It was always the no puffin sign.
Wait, why is this triggering a memory to me? When we were there, was there still smoking and non-smoking sections? Because I feel like there was a moment where I was blown away that they asked us that.
I mean, there definitely could have been because, it's rugged, behind the times. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't remember that specifically, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I just feel like something's triggering in my head. Like we were asked that and I was like, whoa, yeah, what? You guys still have sections?
Uh-huh. And I remember seeing the no puffin signs when we were even as most recently as I've been there a few years ago. They're still around.
That's funny.
Places. Maybe the no puffin signs were the universe trying to warn me.
Oh my God. And you ignored it.
I know. I was like, oh, cute. Like I am with every red flag.
I'll take one of those too.
Oh, pretty color.
Throw the things off the wall. The configuration in the car too, because I've told you guys this before, but when they're filming, they insist on sitting in the passenger seat. So it always looks like the driver is chauffeuring everybody around.
Everybody's crammed in the back.
Yeah. And then I'm like sitting with your dad in the seat behind, and then your mom and Kendra in the very back. It's just a weird, like, why wouldn't, I don't know. The show must have said we want we can see both Kendra and Bridget easily. And so I don't know, but I just thought, why wouldn't your mom and dad sit together and Kendra and I sit together? That's a weird configuration.
Yeah, we rented a car to drive and we didn't have any maps or GPS or anything. It was just my parents telling us where to go from memory.
Yeah.
So it had been over 12 years at this point since I'd been to Alaska, and I waited another 15 years to go back when I went on my cruise. But that cruise, I went on a Disney cruise to Alaska, and that cruise, like, I can't recommend enough. I mean, for me, like, I loved it. It was like so peaceful and healing, and just like, I want to take my kids on that cruise. I went by myself. I went with my friend Josh, was singing on the cruise. So I went with him and his husband. But it's such a good cruise. And obviously, like, I'm partial to it because, like, I'm sentimental because I grew up in Alaska. But everybody who has been on that Disney cruise to Alaska, like, it's their favorite cruise. Like, even over, like, Caribbean or Europe, like, there's just something so special and, like, magical about that cruise. Like, I can't explain it.
Yeah.
It's so good. And I went on it. It was back, the podcast debuted when I was on that cruise.
While you were on it?
Yeah, and it was when we hit number 1, and I remember I had Mickey waffles to celebrate.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting that you just said? It had been 12 years since you had been there when we went on the show, but another 15 before you went back. That's so crazy to me because the 12 years that you hadn't been there seems so much longer to me than the 15 years.
It really does. It really does.
It's weird.
I know exactly what you mean. Because, like, when you get older, time just flies so much faster. And when you're thinking about the years from when I was 10 to when I was, like, I guess it would have been longer than 12 years, 10 to, like, 26 or however the hell, 27, however the hell old I am. 17 years?
Oh, what? It was,
I guess so.
More.
I don't know where my math was when I came up with 12. But anyway, it's just more formative eras. It's junior high, high school, college, all the things.
Yeah. And
so
shows us taking pictures on the ferry. We get on a ferry.
Yeah. And where we landed was Ketchikan, which is the nearest big city to where I grew up. It was where we would always fly if we needed to like buy anything of substance or, just get out and do anything.
The big city.
And the first thing we do is a wildlife expedition.
Wait, I'm curious. Why are we on the ferry right here? Is this just out of order or did we have to take a ferry from the airport into Ketchikan?
I think that's what it was.
Yeah. Oh, we did. Okay.
I could be wrong, but I think so. So the first thing we do, and I didn't look at our filming schedule before doing this, so I don't know how out of order this is.
Oh, you know what? I posted the filming schedule on our Patreon, but I also didn't like really compare it to the episode.
But the first thing we did was a wildlife expedition, and our tour guide looks a lot like George Lucas. Don't you think?
You say that?
He's a doppelganger.
Identical. It's
secret
weird.
Relative.
It's weird because when we first start doing it, I'm like, why does that guy look familiar?
And then George Lucas.
And then when you said George Lucas, I was like, oh my God, it's George Lucas. Totally.
And we definitely didn't see any wildlife, which is so random because I feel like that's all I remember from my childhood. And of course, when you're not trying to look for wildlife, and it's just kind of there all the time, I guess that sticks in your head. But when you're trying and you don't see it, it seems like, damn, where is everything?
I know, because when we're out on the boat, we're looking for whales. That'd have been so cool if we saw a whale.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing whales a lot when I was growing up, to be honest.
And then we go to these beaches, 2 beaches, and he said there's a high probability of seeing a black bear. And that's the reason we were there. This was like, and he says it in here, this is bear country. And we're there to like see a bear.
And bears, like I would have loved to have captured that too, because just seeing random bears everywhere was such a big part of my childhood. Like I remember some of the places we lived, just like my mom would be like, stay inside, because there'd be like a bear in our back, just digging through the trash.
Yeah. It's funny too because we're like putting on like we're on the boat and we're jetting around and I got the binocular.
Yeah, like we are in it to win it.
Kendra has a disposable camera, like we are looking for something. I'm like, a duck.
Yeah,
there's a duck.
We're excited about the duck. Is this where you're wearing the Mitch hat?
Yes. So you guys, I have that red fuzzy like woodchopper
like a hunter hat or with like the ear.
I think they call them trapper hats.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I'm wearing this hat and it was so random. One day I was at Trashy Lingerie and Mitch, the owner, was like, hey, Bridget, do you want this hat? And it was, I mean, it's trashy lingerie. It's a lingerie and sexy costume store. Like, why does he have like a red?
Was he wearing it?
No, he just had it like on the counter. He's like, do you want this hat? And
okay, first of all, did it go with a costume? Was there like a sexy lumberjack or something that they did?
I don't know. That would be cute, but I don't know. Not that I know of. He just had it sitting there and it was like, it was made by Trashy. Like there's a Trashy label inside of it and stuff. So I have no idea. And also, let me just say, Mitch never gave anything for free.
Yeah.
Nothing for free. Like if you wanted like a little tiny G-string to go with your costume, you were paying
50
for
bucks.
it. Yeah, 50 bucks.
60.
Mm-hmm. So like the fact that he was like, do you want this hat is weird. And then I was like, yeah, because you guys know I love theming and costumes. So I thought I'll be able to use that for something at some point. And here it was, my chance.
Yeah.
My chance to wear the Mitch hat.
So we're not seeing any animals. And Kendra goes, damn it, these damn hunters. But I was just so happy to be out in nature. And we stop on one of the islands and we go into the woods.
Oh my God.
And I can't tell you guys, it's sad because the cameras don't capture what it looked like. We walked into this forest and everything was covered in the brightest green moss you will ever see in your life. And it just doesn't show up on camera for some reason. But you walked in there and it was magical. Like you felt like you were in a Lord of the Rings fairyland. And you have to understand, you guys, like this is how I spent my childhood. Like my parents would just be like, go off and play. Bears in our backyard. Go off and play. Yeah, which is like bizarre thinking back, but whatever.
Yeah.
Parents are stressed. So I would go into the woods and just play. And the way the floors are in these woods, like it's covered with like all kinds of like moss and lichen. So it's almost like a carpet on the floor. And this was just my magical fairyland world that I lived in as a kid. And I can't even. And when I went on this cruise, we got off somewhere. It wasn't the Skagway stop. It was somewhere else. We were supposed to go on this glacier tour, but it got canceled for inclement weather. And then I just found this area of like woods that was like that with like the moss floor. And I just got lost in there. And I just feel like that's my element.
It's so beautiful. And I remember you and I were like crawling around on all the trees.
Yeah.
And like doing all that stuff. And I had forgotten, but in commentary, Kendra talks about how she didn't go in the forest with us, that she was too scared, and she stayed out on the beach with your mom.
Oh, I don't remember her not going in. I felt like it was all of us.
I totally remembered after she said that. I was like, oh, that's right. It was just you and I exploring in the forest, but she's super missed out.
So missed out. Like I can't explain how magical it was. And I just remember us going in there and walking around exploring and like everything went silent. Like I'm in another dimension when I'm in those woods. I swear to God. It's crazy. It's so funny because like when I had my son, I really wanted to name him Dragon, and Pascal didn't like that. He wanted to name him Forrest because one of like his best friends that he worked with was named Forrest. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But it wasn't until after I had Forrest that I really thought about like what a big deal like forests are in my life and what a fucking tree hugger I am. And just like even now on my Instagram, I'll just post, I love trees. Like I have such an appreciation for trees, especially living in like LA and Vegas now where you don't see as much greenery. Like my LA house, like one of the reasons, even though the location is so impractical for me now, one of the reasons I have a hard time letting go of it is I own like the lot behind it too, which is like all trees and forest. So you feel like when you're in this house and you're like looking out the back window, like you're in this forest.
Yeah.
And in the place I live in Vegas now has a ton of trees, which is very rare in Vegas. And it's just like, Forrest is really the perfect name for my child.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Well, I think Kendra gets all scared because the guide gets out a gun and he puts some bullets in it. And it's not to shoot a bear. It's to scare a bear if like one comes nearby. And Nick just happened to be like sitting next to me when I was watching this episode. And I asked him, I was like, would this gun like kill a bear? Because he knows about guns and stuff. And he was like, no, that's not going to kill a bear. It'll definitely scare him and it'll piss him off. But I don't think that's going to kill a bear.
A bullet won't kill a bear?
You have to have like a crazy caliber gun to kill a bear.
Damn, I don't think we knew that.
Like when I
don't think we were ready to kill bears either. It was just come in the house, but
oh, back then. Yeah. Like when we go camping, Nick got a special gun. Like we've never seen a bear when we're camping, but we've seen them very nearby, and we've been told that there's no reason they wouldn't come ever. And we obviously have our food and things like that. We don't keep it in the tent with us or whatever, but Nick does keep a gun in the tent just in case, because a bear attack would be super scary.
Yeah, totally.
I mean,
you don't want to be Grizzly Man.
Right. I was
so excited to see Grizzly Man when it came out. Like I remember we went to go see it.
Yeah.
So scary.
It is scary. But anyway, yeah, there's a certain kind of gun that you need with a certain caliber of bullet. The other ones will just like really piss them off. Supposedly, I don't know anything about guns or bears.
Bulletproof bears. Jesus. I think it's cute how they cut our convo. You hear you going, this is so neat. And me going, this is so cool. And then Kendra, this is so weird.
I didn't notice.
And then I slip and fall on my ass as I'm climbing on these fallen logs covered in slippery moss.
Uh-huh. I mean, I loved it. I loved it in there.
Me too. I follow this girl on TikTok and Instagram. Her name's like Alaska Native, but Native has like an 8 in it. And she lives in Kloak, which is like this other town that was really close to Craig where I grew up. We used to go there all the time. And she's always just posting like Alaska content. And it's so nostalgic.
Yeah.
I love it.
Did you notice we're standing on the beach? And I didn't notice until commentary, but Kendra's holding animal bones in her hand.
Oh, I didn't notice that either.
I only noticed it because in commentary, she says, oh, look, I'm holding those animal bones. And so I stopped and look, I'm like, she is.
Animal bones. Okay, slugs were everywhere in Alaska. And sometimes they would get into your house. They would get into our house. And for some reason, I don't know if it was just where the washer and dryer were, like where the laundry room were, but every once in a while, they were always in the laundry room. Every once in a while, you'd go in and find like a slug on the side of the laundry machine. Oh.
And it's not like they're scary. They're just gross. Yeah, they're gross. But in Santa Cruz, they have these giant ones like this. Were they fat like that? Like giant?
They were like small regular slug. I can't Thinking they kind of make me gag. Yeah.
This is a giant, big, fat one, and they're yellow. That's why they're called banana slugs.
Isn't that the mascot of the college?
Yes. And so, but we had this thing, and this is probably not cool to do anymore, but this was back in the day where nobody thought about this kind of stuff. But there was a thing where you could be part of the banana slug club. And in order to be a part of that, you had to kiss the banana slug. So they would pick it up with a leaf, and then you had to like kiss it.
Who the fuck wants to be part of that club? What was cool about it?
I'm in it.
Oh.
It's just one of those daredevil things.
You just want to do it, yeah, when you're a kid.
Yeah, because you want to be cool, like you weren't afraid of the slug. You gave it a kiss. But I feel like that's bad on the snail.
Probably, yeah.
I think like that's why you're not supposed to touch them with your hands and stuff. The salt from our hands like kills them.
I heard about somebody who ate a slug on a dare and died.
Oh, because some are poisonous, huh?
But also that was like an Instagram meme, and I don't know what to believe on social media these days.
Is there a difference between a slug and a snail?
Yeah.
There is a real difference?
A slug never gets a shell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. From what I know, from what I've observed.
Yeah.
Wildlife expert over here. So then we go back to Ketchikan, and we are shopping for souvenirs. There are a ton of puffin merch. And Kendra decides she's going to come up with a nickname for Hef, and her nickname is Moose. That didn't take. And then in that souvenir shop, there's this giant taxidermy moose that you can sit on and take a picture.
I love that thing.
It was so cool. I love the photos.
I love the photos. It's my favorite.
I know. I love it so much. And I go, or somebody go, you or me, or somebody goes, this is crazy. And the guy at the store goes, that's why we put him in here. And I made a note. That is so Alaska. Like Alaska people are just so like matter of fact and everything they say. Like, well, that's why we put him in here.
Yeah, and you guys, like, and just in case you haven't seen this scene in a while, he's a giant taxidermied moose, and there's stairs that you have to take to get up to like sit on him to take the photo. That's how big he is. And let me just note, that is the same kind of moose and size of moose that I saw when we were in Colorado.
Oh, the scary moose.
That came out of the bushes at us.
They're fucking huge.
They are huge. So I knew that it was going to be big like that because I've seen one.
The moose stalker.
But those pictures are so stinking cute.
Oh, I love it.
There's one with all three of us on it, right?
I don't think so.
We had to do it individually?
Yeah, I think only one. The only one I have is me on there.
Okay, I have one with me on there. But I, for some reason, thought there was one with all three of us on it.
I don't think so. I don't think we would have fit or they would have let us. Or
yeah.
I remember.
And that guy yells too, only at Barnaby's. That's the name of the store. So if you guys want, I don't know if it's still there, but if you want.
I was looking for it. I didn't know the name of the store off the top of my head back then. But when I went on the cruise, we stopped in Ketchikan and I was looking in all the souvenir shops for it and didn't see it. So I don't know if Barnaby's is still there.
Well, it was kind of like in a back room and it was almost like it was a different store, but it was the same store. But it was like it used to be a different store, but like
an annex?
Yeah, like they opened up the wall and then it was off to kind of a side. So I could see if you walked into a place, you might miss it unless you really were.
Right.
I hope they still have it. I thought that was really, really cool. And if you're going to taxidermy him, hopefully might as well use it for something like that.
Okay, Barnaby's Old Town Curios, updated June 2025. Geez, my service isn't really working. Am I even going to be able to tell you about it? Okay, here's their Yelp page. It's at 422 Mission Street, if anybody's up in Ketchikan and wants to check it out. Let me look at Barnaby's Ketchikan Moose. Yeah, anything written about the moose is like from back when we were there. So I don't know if the moose is still there.
I'm doing a quick look too.
Wait, Harbor Mountain Brewing, freshly opened in May 2025 right now in the old Barnaby RIP space.
Oh, no.
So maybe Barnaby's isn't there anymore. R.I.P. Moose.
Too bad who knows what they did with it, but if they did close, hopefully they donated it to some other spot. That's such a cool
somewhere
thing.
Cute. Yeah.
Oh, did you see there's the giant crow puppet I have? And I'm bummed I didn't buy that.
He's cute.
Because I'm like, I want that though.
You can make him a Halloween prop. You can make him an animatronic.
Yeah, I'm like, why didn't I buy him?
He was cute.
I'm going to look online and see if if I can find one like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. And I'm using it as a puppet. I'm like cawing in your mom's face.
I know.
I'm like, caw. And she's like, okay, get it.
Get it.
And How in the world did we find a Starbucks in Alaska, in Ketchikan?
Right. Like, I feel like, because I think we mentioned it in commentary, like, oh, we found a Starbucks. Like, it was kind of novel. Because obviously Starbucks were kind of everywhere back then, but I think it was still like we weren't really expecting to find it.
I was not expecting to find one. I was so excited when we had one. Because back then I was super into Starbucks. I mean.
Me too. I mean, well, that was the era where like Starbucks was cool.
Yeah. And I was like, I say in commentary, I can sniff out a Starbucks anywhere. And it's true. Like I can smell. I feel like their coffee has a distinct smell.
100%. I feel like everybody drinks energy drinks now. Oof. And like Starbucks isn't cool, but I'm still stuck on the Starbucks train.
I don't really do either now. But yeah, I can't really do the energy drink thing too much. Kendra says that they are closing up a bunch of Starbucks in commentary. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, that seems early. Wait, I think I thought that was funny when she said that too. Because it seems kind of early for that. Because I feel like Starbucks was still kind of like expanding during that period. Like Starbucks weren't super ubiquitous then, but kind of. And I feel like Starbucks hit its peak in trendiness in like 2010. Because I remember after we moved out of the mansion, I remember like being, at Planet Hollywood, and I was kind of like aware of what like the new Playmates were doing a little bit just through like Twitter and stuff. And I remember thinking, I wonder if they ever got like a barista at the mansion, because Starbucks was such a huge thing, especially for young women back then, and the mansion always had to be like the honey pot with everything a girl could want, like the gym and the tanning beds and the blah, blah, blah. And I remember when we were there, they wouldn't do like custom coffee drinks for anybody. You would just get like a regular coffee, pot of coffee. And I remember you had asked about it and the staff was like, no, because in order to do the demand, we'd have to have like a full-time barista here. And I remember after we left, I was thinking, I wonder if they have a full-time barista, because I feel like Starbucks was so trendy and such a thing and every young girl was drinking it. And I was like, I wonder if they capitulated to that yet. I don't think they ever did.
I don't think they did. Yeah.
And then this guy I used to follow on Twitter, he's since disappeared. He would like write for like BuzzFeed and stuff. And he tweeted when the Starbucks in Westwood closed down, he's like, oh, RIP Starbucks, where all the Playboy bunnies would go. And I remember thinking, were the Playboy bunnies of the 2010s all going to the Westwood Starbucks?
Huh. I was not going. Well, let me see here. Where was the Westwood Starbucks exactly?
Like UCLA Westwood Village was where it was.
See, I would not have gone to that area because that's too hard to park.
Yeah.
And we rarely have a drive-through Starbucks in LA because there's
not really the room for it.
You have to go in the outskirts to get a drive-through. We don't have room.
I would always get Starbucks when I was going to work in Santa Monica. That's when I would drink it usually. Otherwise, it was just coffee at home.
Yeah.
So that was a big stretch of Starbucks talk for those who really have a niche interest in Starbucks. For those who don't, sorry.
So, and then you're kind of telling people what a puffin is too. Because I think a lot of people don't really know what a puffin is.
Yeah. I felt like I had to explain it a lot too. I don't know why. You'd think people would know. I don't know.
They kind of look like a little penguin. Yeah. But they're kind of smaller and shorter. Yeah,
and they have like a little rainbow beak.
Yeah. They're kind of toucan-ish to me too.
A little bit, yeah.
But I know they're not tropical.
It's like if a toucan and a penguin had a baby.
Yeah.
So the next scene, we're at our hotel. And I like that hotel. It was a nice, comfortable hotel.
I liked it too. I thought it was good. Mm-hmm. I'm just curious. I have in my notes I wanted to ask you, because I say it in commentary. What is a plural for a moose? Is it moose?
It's just moose. Yeah.
Okay, because I'm like, moose, mooses, mises?
Mises. I like mises, but it's moose. So then we are making our obligatory call home to Hef when we're back in the hotel room.
Yeah, you know what though? There's something I wanted to talk to you about that happens that they don't even show. But I remember this night, like I said, I was feeling bad. I was not still sick, but I wasn't feeling great either. Mm-hmm. And I still had that cough and stuff. And I remember going back to the hotel and thinking we were done. And so I immediately like went and like washed my face and like took my bra off and stuff and like crawled in the bed, not like to go to sleep, but just like to
take a nap,
do whatever I was going to do, like probably like look at my phone, maybe call my mom. I don't know, like whatever I was going to do. And then all of a sudden they were like, and I remember it was Lauren, one of the producers, was like, "Oh, we're gonna film more scenes that weren't like on the schedule or anything like that." And I was like, "Wait, what?" Like, because I don't want to.
I think I remember that happening to you. Yeah, I remember that. That jogged my memory.
Because I don't want to be the one who doesn't participate in scenes.
Yeah.
I want to participate. And she's like, "Yeah, we're gonna have Holly order this ice cream sundae to the room, and we want all you guys to sit around and have the ice cream sundae, and then call Hef, and like we just want to do like bonding scenes and stuff." And I'm like, I was so pissed that they didn't tell me, and I took all my makeup off. Now I'm gonna come out and do this scene and look like shit, and like. And I was just so irritated with them. Like, I was pissed. Like, I didn't want to do the scene.
Where was the ice cream sundae?
We did it. I came out and participated reluctantly. And then we call Hef, and the Hef calling scene is in here. Mm-hmm. But the ice cream sundae scene isn't in there.
Oh.
I don't know why they didn't use it.
Maybe it's in deleted scenes. I didn't watch the deleted scenes.
Oh, maybe.
So we're calling home to Hef. And when they cut back to him, he's sitting in bed with his food tray. And all I see is his giant white athletic sock.
Yeah.
And can I just say, my baby voice in this scene is fucking killing me. I hate it. I hate it so much. For those of you who say I only rip on Kendra, no, I'm ripping on my fucking self. Because this scene, just my voice drives me up the wall. Like, I know why I'm doing it. Like with Hef, you had to be so walk on eggshells, and he always acted like he couldn't hear you because he was deaf in one ear. So I always felt like I had to like put my voice up an extra octave, but I'm being extra annoying and I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I'm also speaking really slow, which that's another thing I do because obviously Hef can't hear that well. If you're saying something he doesn't like, he likes to pretend extra hard he didn't hear you. So you have to repeat yourself until you feel stupid. And I know I'm on the phone and the connection isn't great. So I know why I'm speaking slow. But watching it back as a viewer, I'm like, girl.
Oh, this is the scene where I feel like you sound a little sick too.
Oh.
Just because I said I would point it out.
I don't know if I'm sick, though. I think it's just me being obnoxious.
Maybe. Or it could just be, too, we're on very little sleep and busy schedule and stuff. So I can see how all of us might sound a little tired. Or I know that if I don't get a lot of sleep, my voice gets a little like dry and cracky kind of sounding.
So I'm passing the phone around to everybody. And when I pass it to you, is it weird to hear him say, "Hi, Bridget"?
Kind of.
Because he usually says, "Hi, honey," or "Hi, darling," or "Hi, baby." So to hear him say, "Hi, Bridget," sounds weird to me.
I know. And that's funny you say that because I didn't really like pinpoint it, but it kind of like sent like this weird tingle through me, like, because to actually hear him say my name was like kind of weird, especially since he's passed and it's been so long and stuff. Like there was something about it that I was like, oh.
Yeah, it feels like you're being called to from the other side almost.
A little bit. Like it was a little bit jarring.
Sounds, yeah.
But in another context, it's funny because Nick and I don't call each other by our names typically. Like we have just little nicknames for each other. We call each other, I call him D, it's short for Dopey.
Oh.
And like, and
wait, people are going to want to know how to get the Dopey nickname.
I know.
Well, I don't even know.
It was just like one of those things, like he said he did something weird and I was like, "What a dope." And he's like, "I'm not a dope, you're a dope." And I'm like, "No, you're a dope." And then like I started calling him Dopey. And then like to the point, and then he calls me Dopey to the point where I have a ring that says Dopey.
Yeah.
And like, and now it's just shortened to just D.
Yeah.
And so like we call each other both D because we're both Dopey. And so, but if he ever, like we joke sometimes and I'll say, "Nicholas," or "Where's Nick?" or something like that. And it's so
like, it sounds
weird.
so like not even third person, like fourth person.
Yeah.
Sounds so removed and like you're in trouble. I'm like that too. I always have a nickname for my significant other. It's never their name.
Yeah. I mean, I call him Nicky sometimes and that doesn't sound weird. But if I said Nick or Nicholas, he'll be like,
"Yeah, shit.
Who's that?"
Shit just got serious.
Yeah.
And then they cut, like Kendra gets on the phone with him too at some point, but they're cutting back and forth with us in a way that doesn't make sense because it'll have Kendra holding the phone and then it cuts to me for a reaction shot and I'm also holding the same phone.
I noticed that.
So it's just like a mess.
Yeah.
So the next scene is we are on Creek Street in Ketchikan, which if you ever go to Ketchikan, You have to go. It's super cute. It's a bunch of old-fashioned buildings, and it's built on like this boardwalk over a raging river.
Yes.
And it's so cute. And I want to know, how the fuck did we not do Dolly's house on this show? Because Dolly's house is this cute house, which used to be like a brothel. I don't know if it was officially brothel, if it was just one woman who lived there who was in business. I don't remember. I went to it when I was on my cruise. But it's so fucking cute. And like, how did we not do that? Like, I'm always super interested in doing that stuff because I love anything hyper feminine.
Yeah.
And when you're going back to like Old West type stuff, like the brothels are kind of the only hyper feminine thing there.
Yeah.
And I almost wonder, maybe we didn't do it because maybe like the sex work theme was thought of as like too close
maybe.
for us.
I mean, you bring
maybe.
it up in commentary later and you just say that there wasn't time for it.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. But this area is so cute. And do you remember Mary telling us that, oh, you guys are going to go to that one area and it was all brothels and bars at one time?
Yeah. I feel like almost everything in the early days of Alaska was all brothels and bars.
It's like isn't that every like Old West town?
Yeah, totally.
And do you remember, they don't show it on here unless it's a deleted scene or something, but there were these kids and they were jumping off the bridge into the water.
Yes, and it was freezing cold.
It was ice water.
Maybe not to them, but freezing cold from our perspective. I'm obsessed with my purple hat, scarf, and sweater combo I'm wearing. I wore it before in Vail, but I love this set and I wish I still had it. Womp womp.
We're taking pictures on that boardwalk and stuff, and it's so pretty right there.
It really is.
Like perfect for pictures.
It's so cute. So I wanted to go there because I had this memory of like a Chinese restaurant I went to as a little kid. And I remember like being out by the river. So we went back there and we're seated and we're talking about how going to Ketchikan regularly in my childhood. Because like I said, that's where you had to go if you wanted to go do anything or really buy anything. And fans of the show were gathered outside and my mom goes, scary. And then, and then we talk in commentary about how we don't like talking about fans on the show. Cause it's very breaking the fourth wall. It's very meta and it sounds kind of conceited. Like, yeah, of course there's fans on the show, but I feel like when we talk about it, it sounds like we're making ourselves better than everybody else. And that's not it at all. Like, I am also a huge fan of things, in case you guys haven't noticed. Like, I love being a fan. Like, I know people like to talk shit and like to make fun of me and stuff for like being a fan of things, but like, I don't even want to be alive if I can't be like enthusiastic about shit and like a fan of shit. And like, I don't give a fuck.
You know what? I'm
a fan girl.
Yeah. I had an interesting take on that too. I feel like, because I also bring this up and because we're talking about it in commentary and stuff too, but, and how funny we feel about saying fans, but I also felt like we felt so unworthy of fans.
Oh, I think so too. Because we were always treated like, well, yeah, you guys are here. Somehow you got in, but you're not really good enough to be in the magazine. So, okay, even though we were getting cover after cover after cover after cover, we still were made to feel like that. Or, well, you guys are on this show, but there's an advertiser problem. So even though you're the number one show on the network, we don't know if we're going to renew.
Or you're replaceable.
Yeah.
And you guys are just happen to be here right now, but you're replaceable.
Yeah. And just everybody talking shit about how we're whores. Like that always sunk in. I think you're right.
I think gone away. Like, I mean, just recently with the butler saying that, oh, they just happened, musical chairs just happened to fall into their lap and stuff.
And that's not the true story at all. But I feel like when like a butler talks out that too, that's coming from that weird place. I was just talking to Marston about this too, because somebody had left a comment that bothered him. And I was talking about how like, not everybody like this. Like there's a lot of people, like I don't want to make a generalization. There's a lot of people, playmates, staff, who were in the mansion and are normal about it. But everybody, and again, not everybody, but there's like a handful of people there that are so precious about what their own experience was. And they want to think that they were the main character in it.
Yeah.
And nobody else's experience is real or they weren't worthy or, you know.
Yeah. But they still like to put us down a little too. Like, well, it's just where it happened to be and stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like the fact that we were feeling at the time unworthy of fans and replaceable and stuff like that is totally normal for us.
Yeah. And I think Kevin was excited on the show, even though he didn't love breaking the fourth wall too much, about showing that there were fans, because to him, that's like his baby, his show, like his little stars have fans. Oh my God,
Yes.
cool. But like we felt like, well, we're not real celebrities. We can't like say we have fans.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So we didn't like it.
And how good does that Chinese food look?
Really good. I went there on the cruise though. I feel like it kind of went downhill. Yeah. So speaking of next week, we will see you guys next week. Check out our Patreon at patreon.com/girlsnextlevel. Check out our merch at girlsnextlevel.shop. And we love you guys and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.